Итак, what can we see over here? This is one of the games I've just checked on the learnenglishbritishcouncil.org, a nice website with a lot of tools for learning English. This game, I just filled it up, and it helps to learn how to use the words used to, would, or would, and or past simple, how to express the past habit in English. And I just completed this little game, and you can see that there were sentences, and I had to insert the missing part. The missing part was on the top, and I just had to drag it down. And here it's already checked, and I got full points. So now I'll just try to restart it, and let's try to see how can I play. When I was young, we used to live in a big house. On summer mornings, we would get up when everybody was asleep. I used to make breakfast for myself, and I spent hours fishing. I just did it so I know where it is going to be. And once I caught an enormous trout. You can see I just managed to bring it over here, and it dropped, and it was showing the hint where to drop. So it was more or less interesting for actually, especially for a touch screen. This should be, and for dragging with your finger, it should be pretty interesting and easy. And what happens now? Now I go for check the answers, and it tells me yes, everywhere it is correct. Very good. What does it mean? Click to edit. I don't know. I don't know. Doesn't make anything. Check answers. Everything is correct. Check answers. Click to edit. Doesn't happen. It. Anyways, so check answers. Everything is correct, and what happens now? I press finish, and it tells me, are you want to finish the exercise? I say yes, and it says your score is 100%, 25 points out of 25. And now the most important part of our today's thing: how can we improve on this one? Firstly, it's you can see that this game is okay to play it maybe once, but it's not very captivating. Let's call it like this. It's kind of a bit boring if I'm going to be doing this several times. So in order to avoid this boredom, certain things can be done. So draw on screen. Let's see if I can. Okay, so first of all, when I'm picking something with my finger and trying to drag it to a certain spot, there may be coming like asteroids, stars, or like aliens, or something like that. In this case, it would be for me more interesting for my subconsciousness to play it. My left brain, the logical brain, is okay to figure out which word suits here. But my right brain, my uh, creative brain, or the internal aboriginal, as I say, or the part of the brain which has always been hunting and running away and everything, that part of the brain is bored. So this is why this wouldn't be very much interesting. So the first part is more dynamics uh, for the little aboriginal, as I call him. Yeah. Then, well, when I would pick up the word and I would try to drag it somewhere, and meanwhile I'm dragging, I have to avoid some other monsters or asteroids or something like that. Then the second part, which I would like to say, at the instant feedback. Now, uh, instantly. Now what I have to do in order to understand that I got my 100 points, or 100%, and whatever, 25 points, I have to wait till I finish everything and then I click, which means that there is no, if I look at the engagement loop, then there is not a very good engagement loop. What it would be better, I would just drag the span somewhere here, and it would give me points straight away, or obviously used to leave. If I would have dragged it over here, I would get straight away plus 10 points or something like that. But the feedback instantly on points. On points. Next is the interesting feedback animation. Feedback animation. One thing when we just know that it happened by just, okay, we got 100 points or 10 points. Another thing, when the feedback is interesting, there should be something blinking, something sound should be, or something like that. And in this case, it's gonna be more interesting because our brain likes cool animation, likes cool animations, but Jones which are well placed, which means it's not like everybody does PowerPoint presentation and just adds animation where they suit or don't suit. In our case, we need to uh, add well placed animations. Um, Obviously, another interesting thing could be is that this game so far, if I just started this course, and I have if I have just read about how to use the use to and other parts which are presented here, I may not be very well placed in terms of understanding how it exactly works. I may have read it. I may have, as we usually read grammar. We read grammar, um, and it says there's the formula: I will have had, or I don't know, would have had, or some kind of fancy tense, future perfect, perfect continuous, which nobody really understands how to use. I think, including the professors, I think, of English, at least abroad. And you just read about that tense, and it doesn't make any sense. It's just like whatever. You understand formula of that tense, but then when you try to use it, it's like as if you have to fight through the whole. You have to fight your way through again. So same things over here. For somebody who hasn't actually tried, um, who hasn't actually realized exactly how it works, it may be hard to figure out which one is which, and he would have to drag them all over the different places. And if there is like 10 sentences or 6 sentences, it may take him a while to try out every option for every option. Imagine that over here, that this word fits here. So then, in order to try this, he needs to try a lot. He needs to try this to here, this to here, this to here, this to here, and this. And eventually, he has to try like what, all the possible permutations. In this case, he may end up with n factorial um running time, and that's not cool. So we want to help a person, to give him some kind of hint. Again, feedback, but it's like a hint feedback. It's not exactly the feedback on the points. It's a bit different feedback. It's the feedback which is kind of like gives you a hint of where to move the things. So what we can do is that we can imagine that those rectangles, they may not be rectangles. Let's say they can be, okay, they can be circles first. They can be circles, and the player starts with a few circles on the top. I'll draw them over here. It doesn't matter that I'm drawing over something else. And this circle says used to, leave. This circle says caught, and so on. And as soon as you start moving the circles around, the circle reacts towards how close it is to its destination. And if this is the circle caught, which says caught, you can't see it, but it says caught over there, and I'm moving it slowly over here to the place where it belongs, it turns from being a circle into slowly being an oval, and then turning more and more into the rectangle. So by the shape of this thing, you can already get a hint how close you are there, how close you are to the destination. Of course, it allows a person not to actually use his um, right brain in order to his logic in order to figure out whether it fits sentence wise, but he can just use his um, he can just use the shapes to figure out what's the correct answer. But in order to figure out if that's gonna, and this is the main challenge. This is actually the main challenge uh, of the language games, because this is the main challenge. Why? Because what happens is that um, language is something what is should be perceived by your left brain and the right brain at the same time. But games are usually played with your right brain. But language is perceived kind of mostly with your left brain, or both, or combination. But the problem is to somehow not to allow only to use right brain to command the game. This is why many games which we play in languages, they're like, oh yeah, the game is cool, but I don't remember anything from the game. And this is the main challenge of all of that process. We can add sounds, we can add something else, the hint may not appear all the time, or it can give you less points. So if you just use the hint, if you didn't, or something like that. So that can be another chance to do the things. And of course, the sentences, they can should be represented as docs, let's say as a space docs or something like that, or something like this. Yeah, and all of that together, the feedback animation, the hint feedback, um, that all should help us to make this game something really more exciting and more engaging. And there is only one thing I wanna as well to mention, is that over here we use the rectangles because the rectangles are usually, because for programmers it's easy to program them, and because it kind of fits into the text and into the way we usually used to fill out the gaps in the textbooks. But we need to understand what we're dealing now with is not textbooks. This is not a textbook. I'm now making this exercise on a computer screen. Somebody's going to be making it on a tablet, or on a small phone, or on a small phone screen. So in this case, we need to realize that these things should be a bit different. And if I want, and I'm the one first suggestion, if they start at circles and then they turn into ovals and then they turn into round rectangles and then they turn into the like a right edge rectangles, uh, and whilst you're holding your finger on it, it's cool, but the idea is that then they should be big enough so that your finger doesn't cover the shape, or at least maybe it should have a space for finger. Maybe this is how it should look. They are here, you drag it with your finger from here, but the shape is still on the top. Or the rectangle, maybe it is a rectangle, but it has this holding point for your finger. Yeah. Again, I'm a bit sorry for the fact that it's a bit messy over here, but anyways, thank you very much.